Begins at tastycatering.com.
Listen to podcasts of Joe Walsh and Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Well, if we don't learn from history, we're destined to repeat it, and that's where we are with R. Kelly. It would appear that the irony of the timing of this R. Kelly criminal trial against the backdrop of all of the fanfare associated with the Leaving Neverland documentary airing in HBO now, which both Amy and I have seen. Chilling stuff. Some developments in the R. Kelly case over the weekend. He's got another accuser out of Detroit. Saying that she says he was the adult, I was the child. He had no right to take advantage of me when I was only a 13-year-old child. That's one development. The other is this videotape that allegedly includes R. Kelly.
Yeah, and Gary Dennis, he's the one who found this VHS tape in his stash of VHS tape.
There can be no justification for anyone to do what I saw on this tape. I can't get the memory out of my head.
The other interesting is just the parallels between the Jackson case. You had the two women who are living with him now. They're in this three-person relationship, the ladies described. One is 21. Her name is Azriel. The other is 23. Her name is Joycelyn. And they also sat down with Gayle King, CBS Morning News. And listen to this. They broke bad on their parents for breaking bad on R. Kelly.
When I was 17, my parents were actually making me, trying to get me to take photos with him, take sexual videos with him, all kinds of stuff.
Wait. Your parents encouraged you to do sexual videos with R. Kelly?
Yes. And they said because if they ever have to blackmail him, what they're trying to do now, they can use it against him, which is exactly what they're doing.
That's Azriel. Here's Joycelyn.
Joycelyn, I see you nodding a lot with what she's saying.
Because everything that she's saying is true. Our parents are basically out here just to get money.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know from the Michael Jackson video and from cases like this how these predators groom not just their targets but everyone around them because they have to insinuate themselves between son or daughter and mom and dad. And that could very well be what's going on with R. Kelly, too. Remember R. Kelly last week, part of that interview with Gayle King, it was fine when I was paying the family for the daughters, and then it wasn't fine when I stopped paying. Well, that may or may not implicate the parents. The one family had a press conference saying, we've never received any money from R. Kelly. We don't want any money from R. Kelly. So that's very much in dispute. But even if it was true and R. Kelly implicated the parents, that in no way mitigates against having sex with underage girls. Apparently, Bobby doesn't understand that. Well, for more on these developments, particularly with respect to this videotape, we're pleased to be joined by Gloria Allred, who is an attorney who has, frankly, had a role in both those cases, the Michael Jackson case at the very beginning, back in the early 90s, and now the R. Kelly case, as she's representing the gentleman who found this video. Gloria, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me.
Can you explain how your client came upon this video that has subsequently been leveled up for public scrutiny?
Well, what Gary and Sally say is that they came across it. They had it in their home for many years. That he indicated that he loved sports. He was searching through the box to see which old tapes he wanted to keep, which ones he wanted to throw out. That he noticed a sports tape and that it also had R. Kelly's name on it. So he said that it was a recording of a concert by R. Kelly. He watched the sports on the tape, then he continued to watch what he thought would be the concert, and then to his shock and surprise, he said R. Kelly appeared to be on the tape, but not in concert, and he alleges that instead he was sexually abusing underage African-American girls, telling them what to do, what to say, and Mr. Dennis said that it appeared that he was controlling the camera, and also he says that he saw Mr. Kelly engaging with these children in sexually abusive acts. And he appeared, according to Mr. Dennis, that Mr. Kelly appeared to be in command of the girls, and they looked as though they were just saying and doing what they were told.
Have you seen the tape, and what exactly was he telling them or saying to them?
Well, I'm not going to comment as to whether I have seen it or not. I will say that we have provided it to law enforcement, and that law enforcement is the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York. But also, Mr. Dennis says that he was just disgusted and horrified when he saw what he saw on the tape. He said that he has a daughter, that nobody's daughter should ever be subjected to anything like that. And when he first saw it, he was inclined to just throw it out, put it in the garbage. In other words, get it out of his house.
Yeah.
But then he says he discussed it with his wife, and she had seen the Surviving R. Kelly Lifetime documentary, and they decided, well, wait a minute, the right thing to do was just to turn it over to law enforcement because, it's clear that it's been reported there's been an ongoing criminal investigation. So they contacted me. I agreed to represent them, and they're happy that they were able to turn it over to law enforcement in the appropriate way because they do feel that it might help in their investigation of Mr. Kelly. And most of all, the reason that they spoke out yesterday was they are concerned that there are many VHS tapes in circulation. I'm concerned about that too, which may depict Mr. Kelly sexually abusing underage girls. And so they wanted to get their message out that anyone who may have possession of such tapes should contact either me or turn over the tapes immediately to law enforcement so that they can be taken out of circulation and evaluated to determine if they may be of assistance to prosecutors. And the reason that they said, or turn it over to me or contact me is because, with an attorney, with me or another attorney, they can have a confidential conversation. In other words, I can explain to them the benefits, or any risks of making this recording, if there is one available to law enforcement, and then it's their decision if they want to do it or not. I've had others contact me about tapes. Some decided after we talked they didn't want to turn it over. And obviously, in this situation, Mr. Dennis did decide to turn it over. So we think that's really important. We don't want this kind of tape circulating. It should be evidence in a criminal case, and then the jury can evaluate what weight it should give, if any, to the tape.
Where did he get the tape?
Pardon me?
Where did he get the tape?
He doesn't know. He's been searching his memory. How did this come into my possession? Obviously, it's a VHS, so it's old. It appears to be from the 90s. He has friends, acquaintances he knew that, they used to give each other tapes of things they thought each other might like. In this case, he loves sports. Their sports are on the tape. Somebody may have given it to him. He has no clue as to how it got into that box that has so many other VHS tapes in it.
Here's what Steve Greenberg, R. Kelly's attorney, said. The doubt here is self-evident with reporting that the man on the tape kind of sort of looks like R. Kelly. It doesn't make it him. It's not him. The larger question is what the authorities are doing about the Dennis's possession of what they believe is child pornography in their tape collection. Are they going to be prosecuted?
I have no concern about that whatsoever. I think it's ridiculous kind of statement because, first of all, the law enforcement was extremely appreciative to have received this tape. And I think that kind of response by Mr. Kelly's attorney is just a scare tactic, perhaps, to try to scare other people from not turning over either to me or to law enforcement any recordings that they might have. Obviously we know who the focus should be in this case. It's Mr. Kelly, and he'll have his day in court. And if he has a concern about the tape, he can certainly raise it through his attorneys in court if it ever is offered into evidence. But no, I have no concern about Mr. Dennis. He did the right thing His wife is very clear that this is what they wanted to do. They wanted to turn it over to law enforcement, and it was the right thing to do. I'm honored to represent them. So that kind of scare tactic is not going to work, because the community is still going to help to make sure there's justice here. There's so many girls that allege they were underage when they were victimized by Mr. Kelly, and we need all the evidence possible that might help to find the truth in a court of law.
There seems to be so many parallels between R. Kelly's behavior and Michael Jackson's behavior. As somebody who, I know you briefly represented Jordy Chandler, he was one they settled out of court with Michael Jackson, I think, for $22 million. What is striking to you about the two cases? Gloria? Hello?
Yep.
Gloria?
Did we lose Gloria?
What happened?
All right. I don't know. Yeah, the Jackson family interceded there before she was allowed to talk about the Jackson family. But
prepared to talk about
it is worth noting.
We'll try to reconnect with her.
So she representing the Jordy Chandler kid, that was in 1993. So just in terms of thinking about how long it took to get the full story out, or at least most of the full story out about Michael Jackson, it took 25 years and this high-profile documentary for the full stories from Wade Robeson and Jimmy. What's Safechuck? Jimmy
Yep.
Safechuck. The Leaving Neverland documentary is.
It's a must-see.
It's remarkable. It's very tough to watch, particularly the first 2 hours, because it's so graphic in detail. But it's really important because it just gives you the documentarian did a really nice job of presenting the evidence that fills in the blanks as to how somebody can get away with what Michael Jackson got away with for as long as he got away with it for, and it's the same story in the R. Kelly case.
I know, and it's the grooming aspect of it, though, is what really sticks with you. And Michael Jackson, I have friends that said, I don't want to see it because I want to remember him the way that he was. I loved his music. And I said, well, that's all fine and good, but you need to know the man behind the mirror and what a monster he was. But he came across as so loving, and I just care for kids, and he didn't. And the way that he wooed the parents, he confided in the parents and had relationships with the parents in order to get to the kids.
Yeah, predators rarely present themselves as predators. That's how, particularly if they have resources and profile and star power, that leads people to give them the benefit of the doubt, or frankly makes them susceptible to being bought off, whether through the lifestyle or actual cash payments. This is how they get away with it. And so it's remarkable in Chicago that we have this R. Kelly situation, knowing what has been rumored for so long. Yeah. And it's the parallels. Michael Jackson gets acquitted in a criminal sex abuse trial in 2005. Of course, he dies 4 years later. R. Kelly
gets acquitted
in 2008, and 10 years later, we are where we are.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560.